Thank you for accepting me on this platform today. So as Mama C said, yes, I am Benji. I grew up in Ghana, then I moved to London, lived in Scotland, moved back to London, moved to the States, came back, and in the last 12 years, I've been living in Switzerland. I came here to work. I'm actually in the corporate world as well as the motivational life coach or life speaker, which I do as well. In fact, that is my heartbeat. My heartbeat is to see people do well and get better and also live their dreams. So I thank you. Before we start this, I want us to just take a chill break. It's Saturday today. It's raining outside. You might hear some heavy downpours. It's seven. What time is it? 7:42 here in Switzerland because we are 1 hour ahead.
Yeah.
But I want us to do something. You've been going about your day busy, hustling and bustling. You may have a lot of things on your mind. And I just want us to spend a few minutes together to travel on the journey of meditation. Mama C already mentioned it. It's not nothing mambo jumbo. It's really very simple. And so I want us to travel on this journey of inner peace and self-love. We go through a lot of things, a lot of hurt, a lot of pain, and sometimes we don't know how to react. We don't know how to bring ourselves to that place of peace, that place of calmness. So however position that you may be or you are, either you're standing, sitting, laying on your bed, it doesn't matter. I will please urge you that let's close our eyes for just a few minutes, breathing in through our nose and exhaling through our mouths. So close your eyes or you can still have it open. As you do this, travel through your mind and go to a place of peace, a place of calmness. It can either be a place in your mind that you go for peace. I usually travel in my mind to the seaside where the waves are so quiet. Sometimes I go through in my mind to the forest, a place that are woods that I hear birds chirping. And that in that solitude place, I find peace, calmness, self-love. I expect to receive it. So as you breathe in and breathe out, you are focusing on these places. It can either be a place in your house where you go and relax yourself, a place that you go for self-reflecting. So breathe in and breathe out. As you're doing this, you are emptying yourself. You see, when you open your heart, you feel connected to yourself and others and to the world, and more profound in a very beautiful way. As you breathe in and out, focus on the center of your heart. I know some of you have either never done this or it's a struggle for you to even meditate. So I'll just say to you, relax. Relax, be at peace. Relax the muscles in your forehead and even have a smile on your face. Just as how when you fall in love, you always have this smile on your face. So as you keep on doing that, breathe in and breathe out. You can also focus on God. Sometimes when I'm down, when I have setbacks in my life, I go before God, I lay down before Him. Sometimes as a child, I see myself laying on His lap with my head down on His chest. I visualize this. And in that moment, I just feel the love oozing out of Him. I just feel this peace, this calmness. See, to feel powerful and peaceful, it is very important that we love ourselves first, with all our imperfections, with all the things that we love to change about our lives, with all the things we are concerned about in us, to see the balanced side of ourselves and look both inward and outward in how beautiful you are, to see the things that you are good at and places you are stronger and more powerful. Self-love and peace is a way of being balanced in the more deep and profound way. And as we love ourselves, it allows us to love others in the same way, with more compassion in the innermost part of our being. And as we begin to love others, we also love the world and the surroundings and appreciate what God has given us. Love is what we are in the core of our heart. When we strip away all the layers of past pain, hurt, or trauma that we have experienced right from childhood to where we are. Love and peace is our nature and our true self. See, it is a mindset, it's a mindset shift. You tune into the light of the all things are possible God, and He will give you that peace and that love. So, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for the Lord God, He is with me. He said, His rod and His staff, they do comfort me. That is where I find my peace. As we bring this to an end, it's a place that you can always go to when you are down. You can use this for family issues, for your work, relationship issues. You can go to that place of meditation. Pick a subject and focus on it in the positive way. Thank you. Thank you for this time together. Thank you. So, without much ado, I will get straight into today's topic. Mama C, how many minutes do I have? I see time is gone. Hello? I think she disappeared again.
30 minutes. Can you hear me?
Okay. Right. I'll try and be as quick as I can. I've prepared a lot of notes. I have my, I love to be prepared. It's very important for me to do that, regardless of how big the crowd is. If it's one-on-one, I do with a lot of people. It's so important for me to prepare. So please bear with me. I have my laptop on as well, so I will start the journey now. You see, I grew up in a very happy middle-class home with both parents and sisters. I was the only male. I had a half brother, but he didn't stay with us. So it was me and my sisters at home. Everything was going on great until my dad passed away. Now, when I say my dad passed away, not physically, he passed away emotionally. He wasn't visible in my life anymore. This was my hero that I turned to. I looked up to him so much. When my dad came home anytime, he would whistle for me. And regardless of where I am or I was, as soon as I hear the whistle, I know Daddy is looking for me. But I lost this because Daddy had found love somewhere. I was 13 years old, and just imagine that you look up to your dad, and now he's no more, and I had to be the father of the home. So we go from a happy home with so much momentum to now a setback. It was such a painful moment in my life. My mom was going through, my sisters, but being the male and looking at my hero who has disappeared. Then my older sister had traveled, so she wasn't with us. So it was me, my other half sister, and my younger sister, and together with my mom. In fact, we were in a funk, as some people will say. And as I said, I had to be the father of the house. So a tragedy, life disturbance, a life interruption had hit us pretty bad, and we didn't know what to do. My mom was asking questions. How did she get here? How did she allow this to happen? And she started now playing the blame game and being a victim, because her husband that she was going through so much with had left the house and she was on her own. I get emotional when when I'm telling this story. You see, so we all had to now reset and plan our comeback. I remember my mom involved pastors, and there was a prominent figure. This all happened in Ghana. My dad was the head of the Presby Church. There's a secretary for the whole of Accra, if some of you who may know Accra. So he was quite a prominent figure. He was a building contractor. He built like really big projects. That the more they spoke to him, the more he stayed away. So now, I want you to hear me carefully. There are 3 types of setbacks, which I mentioned. And a setback is when a challenge happens in your life. I am sure some of you have had so much setbacks. You're already even going through some now, some from the day you were born. And you have a setback at your workplace, in your marriage, your friendship. We have setbacks all around us. And someone may ask, how do setbacks happen? I call it unexpected circumstances. No one ever wakes up in the morning expecting bad things to happen. No one wakes up in the morning and then going to the hospital and expecting to be told, hey, you've got cancer. In fact, yesterday, we buried a friend here in Switzerland who something like that happened to her. It was pretty a sad moment. So this is how setbacks happen, unexpected events. Now, with my mom, though she had seen the signs of the red flags, she ignored it, right? Why? Because she was married to a prominent figure that she couldn't step out to go and say what was happening in the home, right? And even if she did, people wouldn't believe her, because most of the time it's, excuse me, I know I'm talking to my mothers, my sisters, my aunties and cousins on this platform, because many a times they say it's the woman's fault, and the woman nagged him and she was talking and she was doing this, she was doing this. But hey, it always worked both ways. It always worked both ways. So sometimes unexpected circumstances come into our lives and we have a setback. And another thing I believe, because of my spiritual background, is that a lot of us go through setbacks because of spiritual opposition, especially from where we come from. We know that people who do not want that marriage to stand, that relationship to work. Whatever you're going through, you may think that, hey, if I go and tell this friend, they will help me out. Trust me, 90% of the people are happy you are in that situation. The remaining 10%, they just don't even care. Right? So spiritual opposition also comes, no matter what your spiritual background is, whether you're Buddhist, you're an atheist, there is the dark and there is a light in our lives. That you see, with experiences from our upbringing in the churches, we can also use some of these tools to help ourselves overcome these spiritual oppositions. And thirdly, bad choices. See, when you go to the restaurant, you get the menu. You decide on what you want from the menu. And the same way with setbacks, you can make a choice, and that of a choice of an event or a selection, and that can put you in a setback. Some of my setbacks were because I was so generous I gave so much money away to friends who promised me that they will pay me back, and they never did. And as we speak, I am in court with some of them. It's a choice that I made. The choice creates the challenge. It's so easy to fix the blame, but not to fix the problem. But if you look at a lot of the things that you got yourself involved in, it is the choice that created that challenge. So your decisions that were not so great caused you to be in the challenge. But that doesn't mean that you kick yourself. Sometimes some of these choices that we made, it's already happened. So rather, let's find a way out. Let's find the solution to those choices, those bad choices that we made. Now, my mom had already seen signs of trauma triggers, which was yielding to a toxic relationship in her marriage. Prior to me being born, my mom had a gas explosion. And so my mom, she doesn't wear any short sleeve stuff because from her neck all the way to her legs, she was burned completely. And when she tells the story, she was laying on her sick bed in the hospital, and she said a man showed up at her bedside. The man was in white and said to her to get up and walk. So she had that courage and stood up and took a few steps. She said the nurses came and said, "Woman, what are you doing? You are not supposed to walk." And my mom said to me that she told them that Jesus appeared unto me and I am healed. So she had gone through all this. At that time, when she was in hospital, a neighbor of theirs at that time, my dad got involved. He was a really naughty man. He got involved with this neighbor and they had children. Well, I have 3 siblings from that side. But what happened is when my mom came back after being healed from the hospital, you know how it is back home. It's okay, stay with your husband because of the kids and blah, blah, blah. So there was already red flags. There were already trauma, right? But it's how our leaders counsel us. You and I know today that if you do that in the Western world, it will not hold water. But back home, she stayed because of her children. And then eventually what happened? Daddy still left the house. So now, what is a toxic relationship? Mama C has already said so much about it. But as I did my research, a toxic relationship is one that makes you feel unsupported, misunderstood, demeaned, or attacked. On a basic level, I'm reading from my notes anyway, any relationship that makes you feel worse rather than better can become toxic over time. Toxic relationships can exist in just about any context, from the playground to the boardroom, even into the bedroom. You may even deal with toxic relationships among your family members. A relationship is toxic when your well-being is threatened in some way, emotionally, psychologically, and even physically. What I'm about to talk to you about some of you already know this, what I'm about to say, but sometimes you will need a coach or a therapist or a loving relation to help you realize what you're going through and then give you the support to come out of it. So toxic relationships have caused physical, emotional damage to a whole lot of people, especially women. My mom, I know she's in a lot of pain. I talk to her a lot, but she has also found solace. She's found peace with herself because of her spiritual belief. So there are always red flags in relationship we see, and that they are not to be avoided. During the dating phase, there are a lot of red flags, but because we're so much in love, we ignore them. So now, before we get into this, I mean, I'm already in the topic, but as we get in it, it's always good to ask yourself, how did I get here when you're in a toxic relationship? I.e., not just with the opposite sex, but even with your female friend or with your male friends. It can still be a toxic relationship. But most of us also do not take responsibility for our lives. And that's also very, very important. Because it's so easy to fix the blame rather than fix the problem. And so it is someone else's fault. You see, when you're going through challenges, you become singular. It's me, 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 me. But when everything is going on right, you become plural, because now you are engaging with other people. By the time that you're going through that challenge, that hurt, that pain, it's all about you. You don't even look outside the box. And as I said, it's so easy to fix the blame rather than to fix a problem. And now we have become a nation or a people of
you queens are so amazing.
We have become a nation or a people of victims. We've learned these stories that work for us. So it's so easy to always feel we become victims in our families, our relationships.
What you want is life, and let us life.
Our lives would be much better if we took responsibility of our actions, even if it is super painful. We still need to take responsibility. You see, I run a coaching with my clients, and in week 1, I teach my clients how to own their own life.
What you want is life.
I teach my clients how to own their own lives.
What you want is life.
Because most people always blame their spouses. It's my husband's fault or it's my wife's fault. So I help my client fix the problem rather than fixing the blame. Right? So in week 1, I teach my client how to own your own life. But it's so important that you need to know what you're going through, take responsibility, take action, and own it.
I wanna go home. I wanna go home. I wanna go home. I want slay.
Please unmute.
Okay.
Apologies, I've removed that person.
Okay, so can I go on? Okay. You see, where was I? I was at, taking ownership of your life, right? So if all of us went into a relationship or marriage with the right tools and skills and education, we would have avoided a lot of disappointments and pain, but we are never taught that. 2 individuals come under one roof, we get married. We go through counseling phase, right? And even during the counseling phase, because we are so much in love, we do not see the red flags. We close a blind eye on these red flags, hoping and believing that, hey, it will change overnight, right? So in order to avoid toxic relationship, you have got to get tired of getting tired. You have to come to a point of saying enough is enough. You remember as a child, you had so much momentum and you had so much shout in you. You were so energetic. But we go through life and life gets
I love this, you guys are so inspiring.
Life hits us so bad and get the hell out of us that we lose our shout. And now our shout becomes a wisdom. You were so happy at some point, and now because of the challenges, you become so sad. We lose ourselves and even who we are. So in order to get our shout back and fix that toxic relationship, we'll have to do something about it. And this is what I'm going to talk about. One, you have got to get some education in the area of what it means for you in the area of your toxic relationship. If the other partner is not willing to go for counseling, at least take a step. Because sometimes you may be the problem. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that you are, but sometimes you could be a contributing factor to what is happening. Yes, there are situations whereby you've done and tried everything, but the other party, because of their character behavior, they want to keep on doing what they're doing. But it's so, so important to get education in whatever you're going through. And now you can also do this by learning by observation. It's always nice. Sometimes when we all step out, we see maybe a couple really old, 80 years, and they are holding hands crossing the road. You know, I saw one recently and I was asking myself the question, is this how it's going to be for me as well? Yes, I pray and I hope it ends like that for me, whereby I'm holding my partner's hand at the age of 80 and we are crossing the road together. Right? So by observation, you can learn from others. Also by conversation with the right people. Now, this couple that I saw, I had wanted to go and ask them, what kept you guys for all these years? Right? So we learn by education, observation, and conversation. Now, do not surround yourself with negative people going through what you're already going through and cement yourself in that toxic conversation. Because it's so easy, especially with my sisters and my mothers, it's so easy for women to get together and talk about the problems, right? Because the more that you talk about it in a negative way, then it becomes bigger. It becomes bigger. Now, your partner, when you even see him, you were so peed off because a sister said something to you. It's a conversation that you engage yourself in. You see, you do not allow everyone in your green room. I call it the green room because that's a special place. It is like guarding your heart. If you allow the wrong people in, the toxic things that they're going to tell you, those poisonous things that they're going to tell you, eventually you're going to carry that back home. Right? Your green room is that special place of peace, calmness. I call it OQP. Only quality people are allowed in. If you're not a quality person, if you do not speak positivity in my life, I don't need you around me. Yeah, you become an acquaintance, right? But I'll always want to surround OQP people around me, right? And there are signs that you see, yet you make a choice or decision not to disregard it. And this is how the toxic relationship begins. Now, let us look at 3 early signs of a toxic relationship. 3 early signs. And I call it, I say, don't live in the mundane. Don't stay in the messy. I will explain further. Don't stay in the madness, but make room for the miracles of a loving, lasting relationship. When you first fell in love, when you first met that man, that woman, that churning, that butterfly, when you saw that guy and you said to your friend, you asked your friend, who is that guy? I see us together. You remember those days? That magical moment, you go out on a date, you were so excited, you were so happy. But then over the years, you lost that momentum, you lost that shout. That shout now became a whisper. Even when you're calling his name honey, you've changed it. Now it's no more honey, it's no more babe. Now you're calling him by his real name because you're peed up with him, right? The Bible says, beloved, I wish above all things that you may prosper even as your soul prospers. Now that I take it in different facets, in your relationship, in your mind, in your love life, even in your sexual being, that you also prosper there. See, most people live in the mundane, and the mundane escalates to the messy and then to the madness, which is the chaotic way of living, and that leads to toxic relationship. This is where you lose your shout, asking where is the magic, the spark in that relationship. As I mentioned, the butterflies that you used to get now is gone. So one, we don't live in the mundane. The dictionary defines mundane as boring, uneventful, lacking interest or excitement. I call mundane as the known things in your life, the comfortable and the regular. That's the status quo. Now, this is where poor communication takes place. Remember how your relationship started off. You would talk through the night. You used to say silly things to yourselves. You got on so well. You had a magical relationship, or even a divine relationship, because I believe most of us got married in the church. Then after some time, you all became very comfortable in that relationship. The love or the relationship lost its spark. You don't connect with each other any longer. The two of you engage in this endless and painful, mundane debate about where you even go for dinner, how to even raise the children. Where are we having Christmas dinner this year? See, those little things now lead to poor communication, because at some point you get tired and fed up with yourselves. The communication becomes so poor. Hear me out. Some people may say that this is a cliche, but poor communication is the fundamental foundation of a toxic relationship, because you can't find me two people, right? You can't find me two people who have a better communication. It is hand in hand. If it is toxic, the communication is horrible, then that leads to a toxic relationship. So either you are not talking, yelling at each other, whatever the case may be, it is not healthy. So it starts from somewhere. You're used to each other. You don't do things you used to do anymore. Now, okay, you go from work, home, work, home. The relationship has lost its spark. I remember when I was going through challenges in my marriage, one thing that I came to realize was this: husbands, love your wives. So on purpose, not that platonic love, I took the love by faith, right? So my partner at some point asked me, Benji, why did you stop doing all these things, this bickering, being upset, and that? And I said to her that because God, as the Bible says, husband, love your wives. So now automatically, hold on your horses, the woman submits. Now that submission is not the slave, no. Submission as in both of you now communicate well. Certain things that I used to do or say which will upset her, now I had to change the way I used to say it. And this is how I overcame my situation in my relationship. Not that we still don't fight, we argue over certain things, but both of us know our place in our relationship. Because the more we talk, the more we're able to find solutions. So earlier on during the dating phase, and you realize that the communication is poor, even as simple as they are not cursing you out or wanting to talk about a situation, then there is a problem. Even when it is not an abusive language, what will happen is in the midst of the poor relationship, it will bring frustration, and that creates resentment because you are not talking. Or even if you talk, he's not responding, and you're kind of pushing him. When I talk to you, you don't respond, you don't say anything back. So we need to be very careful how and what we say. So those negative feelings and emotions create negative behavior and also create negative actions. So poor communication can now plant seeds that will lead to poor bad energy, and this will lead to toxic relationship. And you see, the children in the marriage or the children at home feed off this. So this is about poor communication, because and if you realize that you've done everything about it and there is no end to it, it's time for you to think, is this relationship for me to stay, or is it time for me to walk away? It's up to you to decide. Okay. Now, early sign number 2. That's the mess. And the dictionary defines mess as dirty, untidy state of things or of a place. I define the mess as the undone things of life, the things that are unkept, unmanaged, unmaintained. At some point, messy tries to invade every relationship. It must be one of the laws of physics or something. You see, a messy relationship feels disheveled, disorderly. It starts to lose its rhythm. It can start with as little as using foul, disrespecting language. Remember I said earlier, my mom had a gas explosion. So she's burnt from her neck all the way to her legs, right? There were times that I'll hear her together with my dad arguing and exchange of words, and my dad will use that against her through foul language, body shaming her, right? And as a young boy at that time, I was so hurt. But because I love my dad so much and I saw him as my hero, I was still on his side, even though I knew what he was doing was wrong. So what happens is, as a child, if you're not careful, these trauma, you take it as you grow. And in your relationship, if you're not careful, if these trauma triggers get strict, you also probably will use it. And trust me, I have done it and realized that no, that is not the way to go. That is not the way to go. And I had to resist and repent from it. It is very unlikely that a person who uses foul language to you today will magically change later. During the beginning of the dating period, if this person uses foul language towards other people, even family members, you need to be very careful, because this can transcend and translate in your marriage, in your relationship. So it can go from foul language to behavior. And the reality is that is a sign that this person does not respect you. And I saw that in my home. Some people might come from a dysfunctional home where this way of speaking was common, but that does not mean you should tolerate it. So that's why it's always good to set boundaries, even during dating. So once the boundaries are set or is set and the person crosses that boundary, you are able to tell them that, hey, you are jumping, or you are going way off board, because you've already set the boundaries. And once you set it, the other person, most of the time, they know that it's a no-go area, right? So early on in our relationship, these things must be addressed and must be done in a very respectful and tactical way. Exercising wisdom, and you are going to be a bigger person, because when someone uses foul language in your relationship, that doesn't mean that you should also respond back in a disrespectful way, because the two do not make it right. You rather become the bigger person. I know it's not that easy, what I'm saying, that you should become the bigger person. Great. Okay. So some people sometimes also brush it off, that a guy used a foul language. Oh, that was so cute, and you can hear a little kid, 5, 6 years old, swearing, especially at football matches. Sometimes I hear little kids swearing. I'm like, where did they pick this from at that young age? Because they hear it in their home. And they think it's cool because daddy was using it, and they will grow up also using it. So you need to draw the boundaries immediately, as I said, and establish what is acceptable and what is not. And make sure you don't engage. How am I doing for time? I'm running out of time. Okay, so now let's jump quickly to the last one, the early sign of toxic relationship, number 3, the madness. So the madness is the behavior that breeds negative results, uncontrollable emotions, or worse behaviors. Once you're consumed with the mundane and messy, this will graduate to madness in your relationship. This can lead to a bad temper. You see, sometimes you may not see the bad temper being directed at you. You may see it as being a problem because it is not directed at you. Maybe they did it to a family member or someone outside. But listen, if they have a bad temper with people outside, at some point, it will be directed at you. I have seen this in some homes. I have seen this in coaching, that because, yes, a woman is the weaker sex, the man takes advantage and capitalize on it and use the woman as a punching bag. I have seen this happen. Because the bad temper, which you saw right from beginning, it was a red flag, but you ignored it. And you see, you cannot make excuses for it right from the beginning. No, is it before the dating? Now I know we are in the marriage because we've tolerated a lot of things, but we need to still have and put up our guard and the boundaries. Once we see this, there's a couple that I know, the man kept on saying that, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you. One day he became very physical, and the lady or his wife was now advised that, hey, anytime he does that, call the police. It happened, she called the police, the guy was locked, he came back, and now he's a pastor. So had she not done that, right, it could have led to something really tragic. Right? So once you see these red flags, I'm a guy, I'm a man. Once you see these red flags, I always advise my sisters, my female friends, even my partner, if you see Benji getting aggressive, either you tell me to walk out of the house, or if it's getting worse, then call somebody. Right? So you see, eventually it will turn on you if you tolerate it. It will turn on you eventually. So I will end by saying that do not let the label of toxicity as the way you may perceive it be the only reason you can validate why I should leave this individual. No, if you're not happy, why are you there? If you don't feel right in this relationship, why are you there? If there is no connection, why are you there? I'm not saying go and leave your relationship. No, these are certain questions you need to be asking yourself. You have a great life ahead of you. My mom always says this: it's not marriage that will take us to heaven. Not because she's divorced, but my dad passed away 3 years ago, right? But most of the time, we get so engrossed in ourselves with this toxic relationship that we cannot, we do not even look outside of the other opportunities and possibilities out there. The stigmatization, what if? What if? What would they say about me? Did my marriage fail? Come on. There are a lot of great people that left, right? And today they are living the best life out there. So this is food for thought. So to sum it all up, how now do you go from the mundane to the messy, right? First thing, reach out to God. God is not against you. You might find solace in the Psalms, in meditation. In times of trouble, you need to know that God is your refuge and your strength. By getting closer to him, he will move closer to you. You can read the Psalms for this. Also, learn to forgive. See, learn to forgive and let go. That's in Psalm 23. If you don't forgive, forget, and go forward, then you will retain, remember, and regress. Because if you don't forgive, forget, and go forward, you're going to have triggers. And anytime you have an encounter with this person, there will be triggers, and that will let you regress. To forgive them, you have to take inventory of how they impacted your life. You see, there are certain men that because they were hurt, they also transcend this hurt in their relationship. So we need to sit back and think, okay, this thing that this guy is doing, how did it all begin? How did it all start? Right? So in this context, as in a toxic relationship, they did what they did out of pain. Sometimes that's what happens. What I saw in my home growing up as a child, I could easily also take this into my relationship because this is what I saw. And I could believe that that was the only way. This is how to treat women, right? Number 3, find correct counselors. I said correct. I mean someone who is going to understand the nature of your crisis and know how to act on it. You know, someone who has walked that journey, who has walked that path. When I counsel people about marriage, divorce, career, because I've been through it with my experience, I am able to impact them in a different way compared to someone who comes through with head knowledge. And then partner with the right people. If you are talking to the wrong people, you could be getting the wrong advice. That angry girlfriend whose marriage just broke down, if you talk to her, what would she say? She would tell you that go and slash his suits, go and even burn down his car because she's already bitter, right? She's already bitter. So you don't talk to someone who is also going through what you're going through. No. The final point I want to make here is how to tell whether your relationship is redeemable. My answer for this is very simple. I cannot answer that question for you. That's the beautiful aspect of this life. Everybody and every situation is different. And I end by saying, you have divine greatness within you. Thank you for this opportunity and this time. God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Benji Larbi. Thank you for this encouragement and advice